Hey everybody, welcome back to the NC State Insider Podcast. I'm your host and lead beat writer, Tucker Sennett, joined by my assistant beat writer and good friend, Mr. Daniel Rios. Daniel, we get to talk about football film today. How excited does that make you?
It's the best thing in the world. You can't get more excited for anything else.
Dan does love a good all 22.
Wow, I love it. It's just sit there, got some music playing in the background, and just watching ball. It's perfect.
That's Dan's favorite, and I love being
Oh.
able to rely on Dan to see things that I don't see when I'm covering the games. It's very helpful. So that I enjoy when we get to do this. Let's dive into this NC State Duke game. NC State lost 45-33 after a kind of uncharacteristic based on the last couple weeks second half collapse by this defense. And there were some extenuating circumstances that sort of led to this situation. You had Harsh suspended for the first half of the game. You had Sloan leaving after 12 snaps and still being the team's highest rated PFF defender, which is probably not a great sign for this defense, but that's kind of how bad they played in the second half. And you had CJ Bailey having one of his worst performances of the season, probably actually easily his worst performance of the season, but probably the one of the worst performances of his career in terms of turning the ball over. But it wasn't all bad. Can you kind of elaborate on maybe how CJ Bailey's performance wasn't maybe as bad as the statistics said it was?
Well, I don't. It's kind of hard because it definitely was his worst of the
Yeah,
season, and I looked back, and it's only his 15th game, I think, as a start, 14th maybe as a starter in college football.
it was due.
So it was due. But I think just looking back at it, his ability to just kind of I tweeted this out during the game, but his ability to like anticipate a route and like move along with it down the field is like really special. And like there's just a couple crossers that like and NC State fans have probably noticed it by now is when he just kind of like there's a crosser coming, from right to left, he'll move left with it and then just anticipate it to eventually come open. And he'll make really accurate throws. I just think the pressure got to him a little bit. There are, two of his throws, two of his interceptions, he was under pressure. And just kind of forced it. So I think that's just the learning curve. Obviously, the third one or the second one in the game, but was that little, offsides kind of they're trying to get him to jump that whole shenanigan. Um,
Yeah, before we move on from that, let's hit
yeah,
on that real quick because I know you and I disagreed in the moment,
yeah,
and I went back
yeah.
and watched it a few times, and I still the play that we're talking about was at the end of the first half, 45 seconds left, 4th and 3. Dave Doran kind of explained what happened after the
Hmm.
game. It's a hard count play, and the center is not supposed to snap the ball unless he thinks that there is a guy who has jumped. And so Jalen Grant clearly thought that Vincent Anthony Jr. jumped off sides. And Anthony Jr. is a twitchy, fast defensive end who gets off the ball quickly. And I gotta say, I still think the way that that play is called in pretty much every football game you watch, it's pretty hard to believe that there was not a flag thrown. It might, if you really like slow it
I
down in real
I'll
time, it
I'll
looked.
elaborate on this real quick because I legit watched it back and I put the video on 0.25 speed. Grant snaps the ball like right as he like starts moving. Like I will gladly show you like the at least my angle
Yeah.
from it after this if you want. But like Grant just snaps it like a little too early and he
Okay.
gets away with it a little bit. Could you have thrown a neutral zone 100%? I think
That's
that's
see,
for
that's what
sure.
I and that was kind of my takeaway with some of the other people in the press box when we rewatched it was it
Yeah.
almost looked like he had lined up in the neutral zone to begin with.
Yeah.
So
It,
I found it very hard to believe that the way that they were officiating that game, they
Yeah,
didn't call that penalty, and I do think it definitely changed. I mean,
100%.
it changed the momentum of the
100%.
entire game.
Yeah. Yeah, and it changed it a lot because then that defense was inevitably like on the field for like the entirety of the end of the second quarter, and then they're on there for majority of the third. Um, yeah, it if Grant legit just waited like an extra second, not even a second, like millisecond, like half a second, whatever if you want to say, and snapped it, they for sure call it.
Yeah.
But if you look back on it, the ball's moving as he's kind of starting to move.
Okay.
So
I
it's a little rough.
Yeah, I just think it's such a hard play to officiate, and then
Real time.
also I just don't know how you don't throw the flag and then pick it up. That's what I
Yeah.
that's kind of what baffled me about it. And it definitely affected the game,
Yeah.
whether you're a Duke fan or an NC State fan. If you're an NC State fan, you're livid about the call. If you're a Duke fan, you are uh, saying why review it? They didn't throw the flag. There's nothing you
There's
can
no
do
reason
about it
no reason to look at it.
retroactively.
Yeah.
But I personally just hate that kind of thing when it feels like the officials' fingers are in the pie, and
Yeah.
that felt like one of those plays where it was just unavoidable. Um, but yeah, back to I mean, if you have anything about Bailey, but I also think it's kind of the defense is the more pressing issue for NC State after this game.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Before we dive into the negatives, to me, a guy that stood out, and certainly based on the statistics, um, Devin Marshall had himself a game in coverage. He was matched up with Duke's two best wide receivers, Keyshawn Brown and Cooper Barkate for most of the night, and
Yeah.
held them, I think, to two receptions between the two of them when he was
Well,
assigned to them.
yeah, I don't know the exact numbers on it. But what I can
And
tell you is just Marshall and Brian Nelson are probably the two like brightest spots of this defense at the moment.
yeah,
Um, at least in the back half, because man, Ronnie Royal had a really rough game.
yeah,
And one of those PIs I kind of didn't agree with, but doesn't matter what I think. Um, Ronnie Royal, JJ Johnson, Jamal Johnson, like all those guys, like it was a rough night. Um,
it was odd because it kind of flipped from the last game where I felt like Ronnie Royal was pretty good
mhm,
or solid at least, and Brody Barnhart was a little bit of a
yeah,
disaster, and then Barnhart on Saturday was significantly better than Ronnie Royal, and Ronnie Royal was an absolute disaster, and that might just be part of that's what you're gonna have to live with playing two redshirt freshmen that have really never played college football before.
no, yeah, and you're seeing that from, the TV angles and just everything is like, yeah, they're getting their eyes stuck in the backfield a lot in zone coverage. I feel like, and you're supposed to look at the quarterback, but sometimes you just got like guys just running like right behind them, and they're just eyes stuck in the backfield. So
Yeah.
it's got to have a little bit of more awareness. But I don't want to like pre-jump your a question potentially, but the defensive line, man, it's getting consistent pass rush for this team it's a struggle. And I know, Kian went out with an injury and, Sebastian came back in the second half and he just didn't look like his normal self. But DJ Elliott blitzed God knows how many times on third down, and it was just a complete stonewall every single time. Like they picked up every single blitz perfectly. And, you
Do
know,
but not to interrupt, but do you think
yeah,
that's more of a product of predictability than actual talent, or because I agree with you, they did send pressure seemingly
yeah.
on every third down, and it very rarely worked.
I would say it's a little bit of predictability because there's a lot of times that this defense, and we've touched on it, that they'll do a lot of sim pressures. They'll have like a Trey Thomas or Kean Sloan, which we've seen a bunch of times. They'll drop in the coverage, and then you'll bring Caden or Sean on that blitz. That's not working anymore. Teams have kind of ID'd the fact that the two middle linebackers in the middle of the field, they can come at any time. So you've kind of seen, offensive lines kind of adjust to it throughout this season.
Mhm.
And it worked the first couple of weeks because, you don't know what teams are going to do, new defense, things like that. But now you're kind of seeing teams pick that up. And just outside of it, like you rush four with this team, like if Brandon Cleveland's looking like your best pass rusher, and Cleveland's had a pretty good first four games. I've loved what he's done, and we touched on that before the game. He had another excellent game. But if your only consistent pass rush the entire game is Brandon Cleveland bull rushing, because that's essentially all he can do, like there's an issue. And I know, Kian is out, like I've already mentioned, but
And he will,
man,
the update today, we'll have a story up about that tomorrow, but he will be
yeah,
back next week per Dorn in his press conference. So he apparently, I mean, we won't get any details because they don't have to report them, but he banged up his
yeah,
something and couldn't go the rest of that game. And it was a little scary because, and I explained this in the Sights and Sounds podcast, but the visiting locker room at Wallace Wade Stadium is basically the one end zone just has the big scoreboard and there's no
yeah.
the stadium is like the crescent. It's not a full wraparound bowl. So then there's a practice field behind the big video board and then the locker room. So it's like 150 yards from the sideline to
Jesus,
get to the locker room, and it's a
Jesus.
90-degree day. So they brought the cart over for Sloan, and so that was a little scary from the sideline for that NC State team because it, the cart is never you never want to see the
No,
cart.
never want to see the card.
Um, but it sounds like well, per Doran, he should be good to go, and they'll have Harsh back for that game for the full game is what I mean.
Yeah, yeah. But man, this defensive line still, as much as like they added this offseason, it's just at least for the first couple of weeks, at least a defensive tackle, man. I know Trevally Price has had his moments, but he was really rough in the run game
It seems
throughout the
like
night.
they kind of they have these bright spots and then they just kind of disappear the rest of the night.
Yeah, yeah, like
There's no consistency.
no, like Chase Bond, like when Chase Bond, when the Chaz Wallace, Chase Bond, and Isaiah Shirley rotation comes in, like chalk the down up, no pressure's coming, and I don't. It's just the reality of college football. But man, they are not. There's no pressure coming in, and
Yeah.
I don't want to dog on those players, but it's just evident. You watch the film, and there's just no
It
push. There's
again,
nothing.
it's to me it's inconsistency. They don't show up night in and night out because you had Shirley having that massive game with the pick six
Yeah,
against Wake Forest and he was pretty good overall in that game.
no, he was. Yeah,
I felt like playing a position that he's not super used to. He's more of an edge by trade, and they've kind of been moving him around a little bit more between the inside and the outside. And he clearly that might not be a great fit for him long term.
yeah.
I don't see them sticking there. So yeah, I mean I agree with you. The lack of pass rush, especially against a quarterback like Mensa that wants to extend the play as much as he can to find those receivers downfield, and then it all kind of
It's everything. It's just
it's
all
it's one giant mess against a team
yeah.
like Duke because the longer that they couldn't get to Mensa is the longer you have to rely on Ronnie Royal and JJ Johnson and Jamel Johnson in the secondary to hold up against a pretty good receiver core.
They're all
And
right.
that's not a battle you're gonna win. And
Yeah.
they yeah, they couldn't overcome that. Back to Bailey. What did you see in terms of what Duke did to sort of frustrate him?
It was just a lot of exotic not exotic, I don't want to say exotic pressures, but they threw a lot of
We're not
stunts.
talking Texas State ECU pressures here.
no, nothing too crazy. God. Nothing too crazy like that. I mean, it was just simple stunts along the defensive line. I thought Peak had a really good night against the two Duke edge rushers. He was probably the bright spot, at least in passing downs.
It seemed
Um,
like pass protection again, inconsistency. Like the pass protection on Saturday was solid and the run blocking was terrible and Hollywood Smothers is just incredibly talented and makes it work.
yeah. The
Whereas
amount the amount of combo blocks that this team misses is pretty
yeah,
sad sometimes. It's
but it's
rough.
just like the run blocking against Wake Forest was pretty good and then total disaster against they and this goes back to the complete game thing.
Yeah,
They
they just can't.
seemingly don't string it together into one big,
I
beautiful,
th I think
complete game.
the biggest struggle that this offensive line has is linebackers that come screaming down. Like when they see that zone step or they see it's a run play, they're coming, and
Mhm.
that's exactly what Duke's linebackers were doing. They just struggle to pass off guys, who were coming at full speed, and it's hard. I'm not saying it's the easiest thing in the world, but
Yeah.
there's just a lot of, guys left unchecked, guys pushing guys back, a lot of it, and Hollywood can only make up for so much. And you see his 51-yard touchdown run, like Jalen Grant did a perfect job of working up to the second level and legit gave him like a sliver of space. And you give him a sliver of space and he's gone for 51 yards. So
Yeah.
it's just like, it just has to be a little bit more consistent. But, in terms of Bailey overall, like outside of the pressure, I don't think Duke was really there. There were open guys down the field, and I think Bailey was just I don't know if it was the interceptions or something that got into his
The
head, but
the word that I kept coming back to was he was rattled.
yeah, for sure.
Because
Because
he's not a guy who has turned the ball over a ton in his career,
no,
and I'm sure he went to the sideline and he pulled up the iPad and he was like, "Whoa, what am I doing?"
yeah,
Because he was not as accurate as he has been throughout his career, and he looked uncomfortable. And Wallace Wade Stadium still seems to be a house of horrors for NC State football.
oh yeah, for sure, for sure.
Um,
And I don't even think it was too much like accuracy wise. Like he was fine. It's just there were a bunch of crossers. There was a seam that I thought he had a ball to. There's a touchdown I feel like he missed. I don't have the exact play, but I don't. It was just a guy running down the sideline, and he could have stepped up and made the throw. Instead, he rather just rolled
even
out.
even on the interception, the half ending or the one at the end of the first half, it felt like he just kind of he wanted to do something that wasn't there.
Yeah,
And he was clearly like when you watch the TV angle, you kind of walked away like, what was he doing? And then when you watch the behind him angle, it like kind of his view, you could see that he sort of wanted Jolie to break in
oh yeah.
and be there for that post. And Jolie just basically those guys weren't ready for the
Well,
play. They
there was no play call, so they just kind
no,
of ran.
right,
And
right.
I don't think he even saw the linebacker who picked it off. I think he
I
genuinely
don't
just
either.
because he got pressured instantly, and he just thought,
Right,
just chuck it up to Jolie. Just
right,
that's just what happens.
right.
But I don't like there were guys open. There were guys open down the field.
Okay.
And you looked at his average depth of target, it was 5.2 yards against Duke. He averaged like 7 point something throughout the first 3 weeks. So I know 2 yards doesn't seem like a lot, but it's a lot for, average depth of target. So, he wasn't as aggressive as he usually has been.
All right, I got two more questions for you, and
Yeah.
then we can wrap things up here. But I feel like even on this kind of not great night for the offense in terms of turning the ball over and not getting a win, you still had two standout performers. What did you see from Terrell Anderson kind of having a crazy game when you go back and look at some of
Yeah.
these catches, and then
Yeah.
also Hollywood Smothers going into the halftime locker room with, I think, like 8 yards or something, but not a lot.
Yeah.
And coming out of the game with over 100 again, which by the way,
Hmm. Okay, buddy. Okay, buddy. Um,
might not have been right about the win-loss column, but
yeah,
Smothers 100 plus yards. Who said it?
it's a lock. So make sure you bet that every week. But in terms of Terrell, I mean, you take the 75-yard touchdown. That's, that's a screen. Still, I mean, that was perfectly blocked, and he just turned that thing upfield, and
I mean,
you
he just
know,
took off like a
he
bullet.
took off. It was fast. Like
Yeah.
I watched that back, and I was like, dude, the safety didn't even have a chance.
No.
Like he was gone. His one late in the fourth where he was kind of laying down as well, like along the sideline. That one was just like the safety should. I don't know how the safety doesn't knock that down or pick it off. The
Yeah.
fact that he had the concentration to lay there, keep his body in bounds, and like that was insane. But his concentration that stood out the most because his most impressive catch on the night was the go ball down the right sideline
Right.
where he
Where he didn't even move his arms.
he
It
didn't even
just
move his
kind of
arms.
it
Just
fell in.
last second, he kind of just like separated himself a little bit.
Yeah.
Perfect throw from Bailey. Like, and that's what I mentioned, before the game is it just seems like every week it's one receiver who randomly just like
Right.
I'm not saying the level of Terrell because that's just a crazy performance, but like it's been Wesley Grimes, it's been Jolie had the two touchdowns against Wake. I know that's not his
It's
yardage wasn't crazy, but
it's a much better group than I think you and I expected.
oh, 100%. I did not expect it, to be this level at all. And they're separating too. It's not like
Yeah.
they're just, these contested catches or, it's these screens. Like there's legit separation when they're running these routes.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I think, it's just my worry is like when it's like again in this game, you have third and eights, you have whatever, like who's that guy who's gonna be where Bailey looks to. And necessarily there hasn't been that guy yet. It's just kind of whoever has that hot hand. So I guess that is a little bit of an upper hand for NC State's offense because who are you gonna take away? Because
Yeah.
every single one of these guys has shown like, yeah, we can go off for 100 at any moment.
They seem to
So
have they have three solid options every game in terms of
mhm.
like where they can go to Hollywood, they can go to and just feed Jolie kind of on short routes and let
Yeah.
him do his thing, and then they can break you open with these receivers. And Dorn was asked and talked about Terrell's ability, like he showcased that he could play on all three levels, short, intermediate, and deep, um, as a receiver. And it brought me back to all those quotes that these guys had in the offseason about how versatile they felt.
Yeah.
And that seems to be true. I think all three of these top three guys in Keenan Jackson, Noah Rogers, and Terrell Anderson, and then you mix in a Teddy Hoffman, from time to time. They all can do very different things, and it'll be interesting to see them attack a defense that is probably going to be even worse than it was, in the first 4 weeks of the season, because Virginia Tech
Or
is probably going to have
people are
some
leaving.
some people that are not going to be on the team by
Yeah.
Saturday, given what's happened with that program. We'll definitely do our best to talk more about them over the course of the week, but we'll see what they look like by Saturday.
Yeah.
But before we break today, anyone we didn't talk about either for Duke or for NC State that really stuck out on the film to you?
Yeah. Sean Brown a little bit and not stuck out for a good reason.
Yeah,
I looked it up because man, he struggles so much in pass coverage. Among all
it's
defenders,
it's
he's ninth.
shocking.
He's ninth in the country for yardage given up at like 200 and like 80, I think.
So how, like that just seems, it would seem like he would be better
Yeah,
against the
he
pass given his
converted
background as a
safety. Yeah.
safety. And it's
Yeah.
it's just like for whatever reason, he's great. He's a great tackler, but he just cannot figure out the pass coverage, and it's bad when Fordham is outperforming him in pass coverage.
Yeah, I think it's not always his fault necessarily because there's a couple times where it's just, it's just soft spots and zones and he's just the nearest guy. Like there's
Yeah,
nothing you can really do about that.
true.
But there's a lot of times that Duke got him on these little play action rollouts and he's just coming screaming down for the running back and he's like, "Oh, it's a pass." And it's just,
Yeah.
the crosser is wide open. So him his he stood out to me. I mentioned him a little bit, but NC State has two legitimate corners in my opinion, and Devin Marshall and Brian Nelson. They both have played, fantastic. Now that I've said that, somehow Virginia Tech's gonna burn both of them, but it's whatever. Um,
Hey,
but yeah,
Dave. Dave says they have great receivers.
that's every team has great receivers. Yeah, if you ask the head coach. But yeah. But Peak has really he's really kind of lived up to my preseason kind of expectations in my own head as like that left tackle that you kind of want. Yeah, he's given up a couple pressures here and there, but I mean, he's still like last
I think
Saturday was his best
you
performance.
you know how you can tell he's been solid
What?
because you never hear about him.
Exactly. You
So
never
it's
hear
like,
about him.
yeah. I mean that same thing with
You hear about the other four.
yeah. I think Teague definitely to a lesser degree, especially
Oh yeah.
Teague's probably been the best, at least from what I've observed. He's probably been the best run blocker. You don't think so?
Teague misses a lot of guys.
Okay, all right.
And there are a
I
couple
thought he was so good
instances.
in that second half against Virginia, and then good against Wake
Oh,
Forest
oh yeah, like
in
looking at it
spots.
like
In
in
spots.
spots, yeah, I wouldn't say like I'm thinking overall, but in spots he's been really good. There were just a couple times this week where he just kind of got blown up and
Yeah,
it was just
this
it,
was not a good day for the
this
entire the to put it
yeah.
in perspective. And I don't like using PFF, but I do think for the blocking stuff, it is helpful.
Yeah.
All three tight ends ranked higher in run blocking than the entire
Yeah.
offensive line.
Cody Hardy, like he actually messed up on one of the plays. I have it in my notes. I don't have the play in my head, but like Cody Hardy inspires me every single week. Like we talked about it on basketball, the pod, but like you love good defense in basketball. Like what will get me going is a guy as a good run blocker. Good run blocking is so poetic, and
Poetic.
it's poetic. It generally gets me going. And
All right.
NC State, it's been very limited, but when they have a beautiful run, a play that's blocked perfectly, like it gets me out of my seat. And Cody Hardy, he just embodies that. And there's actually a thing that I thought about a little bit watching the game is Cody Hardy was lined up offset, that the base formation NC State runs a lot. And Duke actually blitzed their corner off of that. And it got me thinking, and it tackled Hollywood for a loss of yardage. Like, are teams just gonna is that kind of a tell when NC State's running and when Hardy is in? That was just kind of one
He
of my
did catch a
thoughts.
pass.
He did catch a pass, but that corner legit saw Hardy and he just came like instantly, like
Yeah.
just off the edge and got Hollywood in the backfield because they were running a little
Remember,
GH counter. So it was just kind of like,
remember, Manny Diaz is to some of his faults, he has a really good defensive mind. So
oh yeah,
in terms of preparation defensively, they won't see an opponent like this for a while. I mean, call me crazy,
I'm
but
trying to think.
Notre Dame's defense does not look good right now. And I know it's talented, the talent level is there, but I mean, they just gave up how many points to Purdue?
It was like 20 something
Yeah.
at least. And
Was
I
that
know
on your
it's
bingo card, Dan?
no, the way
Okay.
Notre Dame is
Didn't.
Jeremiah Love looking like this
Yeah.
5 weeks into the season, 4 weeks.
I
I thought he was a for sure top 10 pick going into
yeah.
this year, and now it's like first
They're
round.
probably see, but this is the thing about Notre Dame. They
He's
are
getting
going to figure it out in the next 2 weeks,
oh
and
yeah.
they will look like a playoff team by the time NC State gets to South
And
Bend.
then here it comes where we're gonna get the whole controversy of like, should Notre Dame get in? Like,
Yep. Yep.
we figured you out, ESPN. Don't think you can fool us
Just
with your
yeah,
stupid
yeah.
little talk show.
thanks for coming to the Notre Dame Insider Podcast. Anyway,
Uh,
that was a good film sesh with the two beat writers here, as always. We'll do this again, and we will start gearing up for this Virginia Tech matchup and try
exactly.
to tell you what we think's going to happen there. I will get to talk to some NC State players tomorrow, and we'll see how the guys are feeling after the first loss. I haven't had a chance to talk to these guys after a loss yet, so I'm sure it'll be a lot of the same in terms of the 1 week at a time mindset, but it'll be interesting to see how much urgency there is against a team that really everybody knows is really bad.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of something we have to diagnose over the course of the
I,
week.
I personally think it was a massive, like, blown opportunity to not win Duke because you could have potentially been walking in the South Bend, like, undefeated because you have Virginia Tech have come in and Campbell, and then it's Notre Dame, right? If I'm not forgetting a game,
Virginia Tech,
it's
Campbell, Notre Dame.
yeah, like they could have easily been walking in the South Bend at 6-0, but you're
Yeah.
not. But it's
But
always good
you got to
to
look
get
at it
wins
the other
along.
way. Duke probably didn't think they were going to be 1-2 coming into this game,
Oh,
going
for
into the
sure.
season, and they were, and they're still a team that thinks they can win 9 games. So
And I mean, they have the talent too. It
right,
was just, you know, it's a tough home loss to Illinois.
right.
And then, I'm not going to speak on the Tulane one because that's just, what are you going to do there? But yeah.
Hey, I think the American is a better conference than people are giving it credit for this season. I think Memphis is pretty good.
Oh, that Memphis Arkansas game, or was pretty, that was good. Yeah.
That was good. That was
That
good.
was
And I think Tulane
watching.
is good. They just ran into a buzzsaw.
I mean, yeah, it's, what are you going to do?
They ran into a buzzsaw.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
What? You thought Retzlaff was going to run for 111 yards against Ole Miss? No. No.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, go playing them. Yeah, it's not no easy task. That defense is playing a lot better. We're talking too much about other
We're
teams. I
yeah.
need you. You're getting me rambling a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Anyway, that's all we got today. We, as always, love talking college ball with you, Dan. So it's always a pleasure. And we'll be back with you for another episode of the NC State Insider Podcast later this week, talking this NC State Virginia Tech matchup. You can find our social media at Senate Tucker on X, at Daniel underscore Rios 72 on X. You can find more of these podcast episodes on the Sports Videos on SI YouTube channel. It's all good stuff. And we'll see you next time.